We don't use video, you said.
It's just, we need to respect our personal space and just do it.
We don't use video, you said.
If people get on early, what are we gonna do?
Oh, when the slides on, can we turn off video? So it will be weird if the no video. No.
If you don't want to be on the same one, you have to go on and join.
No, I think it's okay.
And then and when I pass it off to you, I'll be muted. Okay. Hi Jade, hi Sylvia. You're the only two on right now.
You can now mute.
No, just turn this down.
To make me speak, right?
Yeah, you're now a panelist. I messed up on the poll. Should we go right into Sylvia? It's just still you and Jade. Should we go right into the sharing screen? So when people come on, they'll see the front screen.
Sure.
And you don't have to worry about video at all. See, I'm just going to press that one. I still get this. Sylvia, can you confirm that you can't see the participant box on the screen? The only thing you're seeing is the presentation?
Call Sylvia. Maybe easier.
It looks like we have a participant. So let's. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll get started right around right on time at 7. Oh, Henry, I saw that you raised your hand. Do you have a question? Looks like we have a number of people joining now. If you could give us another couple minutes, we'll get started right on time. All right, thanks everybody for joining today. Really happy to have you all here. We'll get started now, and Kelvin, I'll let you take it away.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me well? Andrew, good?
Yep, you're okay, Kelvin.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks all for joining. My name is Kelvin, and really excited to be able to join you guys this evening. So today we are going to be sharing, a case study on Brown's Arcade, which is a project that we've been, investing and developing in Baltimore. So I want to start it off by, doing a quick poll. So as we start off, I'd just like to know how many years of real estate investment experience do you guys have? If you could just take a moment to just click on the poll, we'll see how to tailor our content. And then the second question we have is, what are you hoping to get of today's webinar? So just click on those that you apply to you. Yep. Just take a quick minute. All right, I see more and more people joining. Thank you all for joining. Now we're doing a quick poll just to understand you guys better so that we can tailor our presentation. Yeah. All right, it looks like I have to do the poll as well. Let's see. All right, thank you all for your participation. Andrew, can we see just the results of the poll? Okay, I think we will show the results later. So again, thanks for all that are starting to stream in. Thanks for spending your evening with us. I hope everyone's doing well. So Andrew, let's move on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, for those that are just joining, my name is Kelvin. So just want to make sure that everyone, we're on the same page. So today we'll just be sharing a case study on Brown's Arcade. So this is just a standard disclaimer that we're putting on for every presentation. All right, Andrew, next slide, please. So I want to start off by, just on the macro level, I think a lot of people have been, exposed to the public equity market. And one of the reasons why we started GL Capital was really because, we saw the, big disparity between some of the returns that we're getting and exposure to, the public equity or bond markets. And here in this slide, you can see that, real estate returns have consistently been outperforming some of the asset classes, right? Now, real estate as an investment class is very diverse. And what we're specifically referring to and what we're involved in is just multifamily real estate investing. So as you can see from this slide, real estate returns has been consistently outperforming. So we hope that this is an opportunity for you to also better understand why we're doing the things we're doing. And that is investing in real estate. All right, next slide, please. It offers more stability, and we can explain why most of our rental portfolio currently has been, on average, right, returning in excess of 8% cash on cash. So it is a great time for us to invest even within this downturn. Most of our existing real estate portfolio is still performing quite well, although we have some issues related to COVID, which we can also talk about in the Q&A. I'd love to share more. So I'll hand it off to Jay to talk a little bit more about who we are. Yeah.
Turn your mic on. Yeah, you're okay.
Thank you, Kelvin. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jade, one of the founders of GL Capital, working with Kelvin and Andrew. Three of us knew each other when we were in graduate school, Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. We developed a very deep trust when we were in school, and we had very similar goals and dreams. We saw opportunities in Baltimore and decided to start a company here. GL Capital is a real estate investment company focused in making investment in multifamilies, student housing, mixed-use properties, and managing properties. Besides to help our investors to reach great and stable returns, we are also very care about what social impact our company can make. We care the community we make investment in. After we start making investment in Baltimore, we bought more than 90 investors from other countries to make investment with us, like China, Singapore, England, Canada, and India. We are a very well-rounded team. My partners and I have been running an investment fund for 10 years. We have been doing investment in venture capital and private equity before getting involved in real estate. We are also a very diverse team. Sylvia, our asset manager, and I are from China. Kelvin is from Singapore. Andrew, Joanne, and our finance manager, and Sarah, leasing specialist, are from the States. Different background and expertise help the company to run and grow smooth. We started a single house and a small multi-families in 2016. We did most of things in-house at the very beginning, like solving the issue for tenants, renovating apartments. We try to understand every single thing about making investment in real estate, make it profitable for our investors, and also make our tenants happy. Now we have about 200 units in Baltimore, commercial property in Norfolk, Virginia, and we are going to acquire a student housing in Philadelphia. We love organizing events and getting people together to share their ideas. These are some events we have hosted before. We have events 1 to 2 times a month, like panels, education sessions, very fun happy hour events. Our next event will be next Wednesday, and welcome to join that one too. When coronavirus happens in the States, we are worried about our doctors and the relief workers. They are the people at the phone line protecting us. We started purchasing masks and donated them to the hospitals and other places. When we brought masks to the hospitals, it was very sad to see the volunteers were making masks for the doctors. They lack masks. Here, we also would like to ask more people to join us to help them. Here's our donation link if you are willing to help too. We would like to do a real estate company that has up-to-date and innovative real estate technologies, develop the green buildings, and make social impacts. The communities we make investment in, we would like to be a better place. Today, we would like to share to you one of our properties we made investment in, why we would choose this project, and how do we fund this project, and what is our plan to make this project provide a good returns for our investors. We hope this case study can help people who have interest in investing in real estate. Bronx Arcade building is located in Main Street, Charleston. The building used to be in Baltimore tour books. In 1916, the building converted to 30 offices. The last owner held the building for more than 10 years, but he didn't take good care of the property. Eventually, office tenants moved out. The property is only 2 blocks away from Washington Monument and the Waters Museum. This area is a fast-growing residential market. We saw here has tremendous value and potential. Johns Hopkins van passed here. Peabody School is less than 5 minutes walking distance. Here also has many young professionals work here, and the students and young professionals are our target tenants. We have a version to purchase the whole block of the street. We want to turn the office to apartments building. So after we purchased the Bronx Arcade, we also acquired another building on the same street, 300 North Charles. This is a 42 units building. They help us to get to the 67 units on this street. As we projection, 300 North Charles property is always leased out. here's a high demand of leasing. Where do we get our funding? We have equities investors from Canada, England, Boston, Pennsylvania, Virginia in this deal. We pitched them very hard for Baltimore investment. Besides that, we were also trying to get more funds from banks and other resources to have less investor equity, so that we can generate higher returns for our investors. We applied for facade improvement grant from Baltimore Downtown Partnership and the Baltimore Development Corporation, and thank you them very much to give us funding. And besides that, we also got a CPACE fund from Greenwork Lending. Greenwork Lending is the lending national providers of commercial PACE finance. They help property owners invest in their commercial properties to drop operating expense and become more energy efficient. CPACE lending helped us for the extra $500,000 funding. Beyond that, Bronx Arcade will become a green building that can help us to save energy and water. We will have high efficient lighting and hot water systems and the renewable energy systems. The third strategy we are using is cost segregation study. Cost segregation study allows us to take a great amount of depreciation in the first year. Our accountant helps us separate property components and all other related costs. And the analysis real and the personal property to demolish during the renovation, then can help the investors pay less tax. The investor will have more cash to spend or more money to make investment in. So based on these strategies, we will have a very unique tax advantage, low energy costs, and better aesthetics. The investment in this project can get more than 30% average cash on cash return every year, and more than 8% cash on cash return. And we plan to get the more than 30% refinance next year. We also see this investment will get more than 17% IRR. We plan to finish renovation end of July this year, so the building can lease out. After building generates stable revenue, we will do refinance and help our investors get the investor equity back, some equity back next year. By the way, we still have a gap of investment. Let us know if you have any interest. We do quarterly investment reports to our investors. We are using an Appfolio investor portal that our investors can track their investment status anytime. We plan to hold this building for about 5 years and sell it if market is good in the year 5. We also don't mind to hold the building. The property I mentioned earlier, the Same Street 300 North Charles property has more than 98% occupant rate. We also like to hold this property with good cash on cash returns. Because of this strategy we are using, and we also will add a lot of value to the properties, so that's why we can see the return we can get. My partner Andrew will share with you more about how do we add value to the properties.
Thank you so much, Jade. That was wonderful. Before I dive in, I just wanted to let everyone know we will have time at the end for Q&A. If you think of a question, go ahead and write it in the Q&A section or on the general chat, and we'll get to all your questions. So thank you, Jade. You know, when we first evaluated this property in 2017, we were pleased by the potential of the investment returns. However, we knew it would all come down to our proper execution of the design and of the construction phases. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about our design decisions and our construction updates, and also share some information about our renegotiation of commercial leases of our existing tenants. Brown's Arcade has a rich history, and in homage to its historical significance, we decided to restore the original architectural features, adding a paint scheme that would highlight the character of the building. In many respects, this is the most cost-effective option as well, in lieu of more sophisticated facade improvements. In certain parts, it would be necessary to replace deterior featured, as you can see on the cornice here, that we discovered was rotten. Our contractors proved their millwork abilities in restoring this particular piece, and this was also something that we needed to do in order to be eligible for the facade improvement grants. Luckily, the city was able to approve it and fund us for this type of work. However, we wanted to showcase the historic character, but in one area we wanted to differentiate from the rest of the building, and that was this entranceway. It's an access point for our retail customers to go into interior retail spaces, as well as the main entrance for our residents. Instead of the historic look and feel, we opted for a newer, sleeker, and more contemporary outfit. The glass canopy is going to have vibrant acrylic lighting for attracting nighttime visitors, and be a place people are going to be proud to walk in every time they go into their building. Once inside, we'll have a new and refreshed retail corridor on each side, new retail options for the public. And leading down to this back area, we have an atrium. Here we are trying to restore the historical character, yet also bring in a significant amount of greenery, vibrancy, and functionality. We see this place as a great place for doing activities and having seating for the various retails around us. There's going to be 5 commercial retail spaces directly attached to this atrium, including Mick O'Shea's and Lumbini Restaurant, both of which have liquor licenses in good standing. And doesn't this look like a great place that we can all have a Bloody Mary together? And how great to take the Bloody Mary upstairs to your apartment. So in addition to that first floor retail area, we also have 15 apartments upstairs that we are completely developing from a gut rehab standpoint. The goal for the apartments was maximizing the number of bedrooms and the living experience of the residents. We aim for large units with plenty of living spaces. In each unit, there's 1 to 2 historic features like window trim, original tin ceilings, and exposed brick that will add a dramatic effect. All right, so that's it for the design process. Next, I'll talk about our hands-on management of the construction, which proved necessary because for a 250-year-old building, you can imagine what we found when we took it apart. We hired Elite Contracting Solutions. It's a local, veteran-owned business that impressed us with their restoration of a similar property up the road. Few properties I've seen in my entire lifetime can blend the historic character and the contemporary experience as Elite. The major risk here, however, was can Elite complete the project on budget? To manage that risk, we opted for a gross maximum price contract, virtually a not to exceed budget. So no additional expenditure except for those items which we changed based on our discovering ways that we can improve the value of the project. Reduces our risk and also gives them a chance to manage it according to the way that we know they can. About 75% complete with the construction. We're past the heavy lifting stage, which included the MEP installations and construction of a 3-level rear elevation. Here you can see that elevation, which we need to do. And on the picture on the right, you can see it. It will create a really new look and feel of the what we're calling the courtyard. So our intent for these large skylights that you can see in the picture on the right, we will deconstruct and replace with a walkable glass membrane and use this courtyard as a common space for the residents. It'll increase the sunlight cast into that first floor retail corridor and also be a great place to hang out. A quick update on the construction. So here you can see an example of an open floor layout in one of our apartments. The sheer size of the living space, large rooms, high ceilings, certain architectural features in every unit. And a quick note on Jade's explanation of the C-PACE loan for those of you that might have missed it. For a marginal increase in the cost of the HVAC units, for example, we're getting a significant loan from the government for all of our HVAC installation, the labor and all of the materials. Our loan to cost on the project went from 70% to 78%, which decreases the amount of equity we needed. Plus, residents will average lower utility payments. They'll get some savings, and we can also increase the base rent that we're potentially charging them. So it's really a win all around. On the electric and plumbing, it's been a real pleasure to work with Elite Contracting, in part because of their very proactive attitude. From the beginning, they reached out to BGE, Baltimore City's water department, and the city fire marshal. We stayed well in front of the requisite building code requirements to make sure everything was done correctly. It's been a bit of a process. The last part I want to talk about is the commercial leasing. It's another really, really important part of this project. To start, I'll talk about the two existing tenants, people that were in space when we bought the building and generating cash flow. The first is Lumbini Restaurant. We ended up reducing their space of their restaurant in half, yet we were able to increase their per square foot rent by 44%. And they have more responsibilities for repairs and maintenance. Mick O'Shea's is a beloved Irish pub known all over Baltimore. They decided to renew their lease after agreeing to replace their entire bar, as well as other permanent plumbing fixtures that will one day belong to the ownership. And they're leased through 2029, which gives us a lot of security. And that leaves that interior retail corridor from entranceway through to the atrium space that you saw in an earlier slide. We have various parties already interested in bringing cafe, art gallery, arcade vendor, and other catering concepts to this space. Experiential offerings like these will bring this whole deal together and be a great selling point for our renters upstairs. And we have a lot of expectation for Brexton Commercial. I saw Leo was on the interview, so I'm glad you're here, Leo. We have full faith in you guys over there. I'll hand it back off to Kelvin to close out and prepare for some questions.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew and Jade. Andrew, actually, since you're still here, there are a couple questions related to the facade improvement grant. So the questions here that we have are, when did the city approve the facade improvement grant? And from Michael,
is gone. Then maybe I'll do the last part.
Hello, can you hear me? Andrew, can you hear me? Andrew, can you hear me?
Kelvin, if you're talking,
I'm here.
We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me? Oh, I lost my audio. Yeah, some of the panelists can say they can hear me. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for confirming. Well, let me answer the question on the facade improvement grant. Yes, the answer is yes. We did get an approval. I believe this was a couple months back, but we haven't fully started on the whole process. We started doing some of the exterior facade improvements. So there are still quite a fair bit that we're going to do, but right now our focus is on doing the second and third floor units, as well as now we're starting to do some of the renovations in the courtyard. Just to highlight one of the point that Andrew might have mentioned is we are targeting, because of the name Browns Arcade, we thought it's very fitting, and also for some personal reasons that we thought it would be great to have a really big arcade space there. It's quite popular in other cities when we visited, like Norfolk and Philadelphia. There is one similar concept in Baltimore, but I thought that there's a lot more space for us to do even more. So moving on to financial highlights, Andrew, next slide. Yeah. So here's how our underwriting process works. So as part of our investment process, we got to dive into what are the available rents for our rental apartments. So the one on the top you see is our residential rent roll. Now, one of the strategies that we have at GL Capital is, as former students, we were all living in Baltimore. one of the reasons we started the company was because we saw that there was a need to have, good housing at affordable rents, right? So here, our market pricing, if you look at some of our competitors, more of the newer buildings, we're actually slightly below market. And that is a deliberate strategy because we think this will help us to get it leased up much quicker, right? And then if you look at some of the combinations, most of it is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. We value space. A lot of the apartments now are pretty tiny. So we thought, there's people are going to pay a slight premium to having more of their own space. And at the bottom is some of our commercial leases. So you can see our 2 existing tenants, Mikoshi and Lumbini, as well as the additional space that Andrew was alluding to, that we're going to get it leased up. We think that we anticipate, being able to lease them up much quicker once we get the 2nd and 3rd floor apartments online. And we're proactively engaging with our commercial brokers, leasing brokers, to get it leased up. Yep. So this is a really heavy slide, but if you're interested to dive more into the details, we can arrange a separate session. But basically right here is our underwriting, right? This is where we're crunching the numbers. We are looking at some of the per unit expenses, and we're able to get a good handle on some of the unit expenses because, currently we already manage about 200 plus units in Baltimore. So we have a good sense of the expenses. We have a good sense of the operating costs, and you heard in the beginning that we do our own property in-house. So a lot of the expenses that a normal landlord would typically get charged by a property manager. For example, some property managers would charge a premium on just, replacing a bulb. So everything here, we're just passing it, through our costs. We're not charging an extra premium on repairing stuff. So, and when we're always getting extra bids to make sure that the repair and maintenance costs are kept really manageable, right? So I also want to, for some of the newer investors here, I want to draw your attention to actually the last line, which is DSCR. Now that is a really, really important, metric that we track. This basically stands for debt service coverage ratio. Now you see on the 2021, it's 1.4. Now typically, a lot of banks would like to see that ratio at least at a minimum 1.2. And what that basically means is there is the net operating income, there's excess of that net operating income to cover the debt, which effectively means the bank wants the property to be able to stand on its own. It's able to cover expenses. It's also able to cover the debt service with an extra buffer, right? So we are pretty healthy on this property. So I think we'll be in good shape. And then our bank loan, everything is in place. We're continuing to draw down for construction. The good thing is, even despite this COVID situation, we are still, full steam ahead, and we expect to be able to complete the project really quickly. Yeah. Andrew, next slide, please. Now, this is a recap of our investment returns. What we have here is, you can see we have an annual preferred return for our investors, which is the 5% listed on this slide. And more importantly, once we complete the construction and get it leased up, the property is going to be much more valuable. And then, that's the time where we'll be looking at potential refinance options where we can refi the property at a higher valuation, return some of the equity to investors, which means your equity deployment in the project is lower, and therefore you will get a higher investment return and a quicker one, right? So here you can see that in 2021, where we do a refi and we return some of the proceeds, and we're estimating about 700,000 worth of refi proceeds, it will be returned to the investors. That gives you a significant bump. And then in 2022 onwards, that's where the stable income would follow. So you'll be getting a constant stream of income through your investment, right? So a lot of people always ask, we get this question quite often, right? Why Baltimore? You're from Singapore, you're from China, you're from other parts of the US, so why Baltimore? Well, actually, when we look at the study of Baltimore, to be honest, like there's a lot of things that people don't know about Baltimore, right? Actually, I'm curious to see if among our participants here, who has, well, I know some of you already live in Baltimore. I'm just curious, for those that are out of state, out of the city, could you just do a quick, send us a chat, and just curious where to know you guys are from. So there's a lot of good economic drivers and employers in Baltimore. And we really like this city because I think it's pretty undervalued. There are a lot of accolades that the city has won. And having lived there for about the past, almost 4 years, and then Jade for almost more than 10 years, right? I think that from our perspective, like this is a great area to invest in. Moreover, some of the properties that we invest in are really undervalued, right? If you look at the building that we acquired, Browns Arcade, you wouldn't be able to get this building at this price anywhere else, right? Sure, the market dynamics are quite different, but as it stands, just that property alone, I think the replacement cost is probably much higher than what we got it for. Similarly, on 300 North Charles, which is another building that we purchased, is also, you wouldn't be able to find this price. And we have been performing really well on both properties so far. Andrew? Yep. So here's Baltimore at a glance, right? You can see the population is among the largest US metro areas, is ranked number 9. Average household income is at number 17, right? So some of these stats might actually be surprising to a lot of our people on this webinar, but it kind of goes to prove that, you can easily invest in projects or real estate investments in other cities, right? And that comes at a higher price, right? And it may ding your investment returns unless you find a really good property that that's severely undervalued. But by and large, Baltimore offers tremendous opportunities, and that's why we have continuously invested in the area. And one of our goals here is also to make Baltimore better, make the city better. That kind of informs why we're doing the things we're doing in terms of acquiring properties on the neighborhood, on the block, trying to change the kind of whole narrative around the block, right? Making it better. And then also contributing to our local community through our donation drives. We just want to bring up the city because we love Baltimore a lot. So Baltimore is one, on this chart, maybe it's also worth mentioning that that we are also acquiring properties in other cities. We are now looking at Philadelphia. We have a property that is under contract, and that's something that we can discuss as well if you're interested. Right. So I see some of the chat response. Thank you for response. So we've got New York, Pennsylvania, Charlottesville, DC, Rochester, really nice. Yeah. Poll 2, Andrew, what's poll 2? Let's see. Got to issue out the poll. So here we have a new poll. Oh, that's quick. How would you rate the overall experience so far? This is kind of like our first major webinar that we're doing. So we'd love to get your feedback from everybody. I'm gonna click. Very good. Maybe.
Kelvin, hey, I'm here again. So yeah,
Yes.
as people should have the poll now. If you got to go, we understand. But we can also start with the Q&A. We have a few questions already, so we'll just start from the top. If you have any questions, further, just go ahead and type them in the chat or in the Q&A section. We'll do them one at a time.
Yep,
The first question we have. What investment structure do you use to package your investment? Would there be differences for domestic and international investors, specifically relating to tax efficiency? Jade, I think this might be a good one for you if you want to take that.
Yes, I would like to take the first question. So for our investors, for our investment, our investor will have the 80% of the shares of the investment properties company, and as a management team, we'll have the 20%. And we also provide investors preferred return based on the deals. Like Bronze Arcade, we provide the 5% preferred return for our investors. And for the second question is the domestic international investor. What difference for the tax. So if the investors are not from American, if they are from the other countries, usually we will take the 28% of the tax before we send out the dividend. And also for the foreign country investors, they also need to apply a tax ID when they make investment here.
Yeah, I'll add on to this question. So on the investment structure side, every property that we purchase, we'll be setting up a new LLC. So basically, when you become an investor, you are owning shares depending on how much money you invest and how much capital was raised. So you are considered like a shareholder in a company. As a result, and then you will be getting dividends through this distribution. And while we're not CPAs here, we always advise our investors to approach their own CPAs for advice. But there are some real tangible tax treatment for investors in this LLC structure, because for example, like Jade had mentioned, that we are doing cost segregation exercise, right? So as an investor, you're getting the benefit of accelerated depreciation through our investment. Yeah. Andrew? Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question we have, how do you get money from the city for your exterior? This is, we applied for a specific grant that was available because we are in the downtown neighborhood and because we're in Baltimore. So there's two separate grants. We've actually qualified for both of them. However, pretty much I shouldn't say every city, a lot of cities are going to have economic development organizations that provide some facade or some historic or some energy efficiency credits. There's some organizations out there we can connect you with that can research, in your market, what opportunities are going to be available. And it's not free money because we have to do a little bit of work, but it's, the grant money, the untied funds is really helpful for us to be able to either save cost or create a better product that we wouldn't have otherwise with our original budget. Good question. And the next question, similarly, did the city approve the facade improvement grant? When would you start? Yes, the city approved it, and it is going to be reimbursed as soon as we finish the project. So we should be getting that from the city once we have completed the work that we applied to receive the grant for. Next question is about CPACE. And I'm not sure, I know Jane mentioned it and then I kind of followed up.
Yeah, I think that's been answered. We can send a follow-up to our participants of what is CPACE.
Sure.
I think the next question is quite interesting one. Who is Brown? Good question. Who's Mr. Brown?
Are you asking me? So Frank Brown was a former governor of Maryland. This dates back to the 1890s. And he was, I guess, governor turned developer, and has a lot of projects in the downtown area. So I suppose he was a figurehead almost 140 years ago. And so this is just his legacy. And we, I guess, hoping to honor that legacy because how much we care about the downtown Baltimore neighborhood.
Now this is a good one, Andrew.
Good one.
Yeah. What type of issues did you come across with the old building?
We might need to do another webinar on what type of issues you come across.
Let's show them the facade slide or some of the interior slides. And then maybe you can walk through, some of the interesting surprises that we have discovered as we do these historic renovations.
All right.
So as you know, it was an interesting process for us when we acquired the building, right? So I find that there are a lot of very, very nice old buildings, historic ones that a lot of people want to acquire, right? But I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of work required to restore these buildings. So, we have come across many issues when we, started tearing out some of the walls. In fact, this addition that Andrew has shown on the slide, was not originally planned, but we thought, since we were in the process of just doing the construction, we decided to erect this structure, tear down the old structure, erect this new one, and which allows us to add actually an additional 2 more units, right, from our original plan. So that was an interesting value add for us. We worked very closely with a construction company. We managed to achieve this. So it kind of add a value to our project. Andrew, you want to take some of the other construction issues that maybe we came across?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, with any old building, you're going to get certain ceiling joists or floor joists that need to be replaced. So there's a few areas that, as soon as we opened up the walls, we realized that the prior structural integrity was just not there. Luckily, with the gross maximum price agreement, our contract had already really taken responsibility to make those changes. So that was good. I mean, there's a few areas where the roof hadn't been maintained. And so not only did we have to replace the roof, but we had to replace some of the underlayment that had been rotted. And I would say those were the 2 biggest factors. The other element is all of the utilities, the water and the electric is in the basement of the commercial spaces. And these basements look like they could be 200 years old. They're really small, really low ceilings. There's not a lot of space down there. So getting the wiring and getting the plumbing from those basements, which were basically live retail areas, all the way up was a big challenge. Some of that work we actually got done in the last few weeks because of the shutdown due to the COVID-19. So, we were able to advance some pretty important parts of the construction in lieu of the disaster. Good question. Are there any retail spaces already pre-leased? So the retail spaces that are leased are those that were the existing tenants. We are still doing some construction and some fit out of the other spaces, and we only just put it on the market relatively recently. So the answer is no, they're not pre-leased. However, we've priced them pretty competitively, and the group that we're using has leased other similar size, so price and square footage on the same block. So within 5-minute walk, there's 3 or 4 other spaces. So we're pretty confident that in the next 3 to 6 months, as the apartments are finished and leased out, that those retail spaces will have a lease in place as well. Oh, the next question is about COVID-19. How did it affect construction and leasing? What measures did you take? I guess I can do that one as well. I mentioned it a little bit that the construction in Maryland was deemed an essential industry. And so it didn't really affect our process much at all on the construction side. We did make sure that our construction workers have PPE so that they can, protect themselves. They're taking every measure to keep themselves safe, and also scheduling themselves so that they're not all at the same place at the same time to maintain the social distancing. On the leasing side, we're already marketing. The showings have slowed down. However, we're still doing the renovation work, and so we weren't really prepared to have them leased until the summer anyway. So as long as this COVID-19 situation were to improve by June, July, we'd be in really good shape for a fall or winter lease, and that's what we had originally decided anyway.
So Jay, we have a couple questions on investment. Why don't you take that?
Sure. The next question is what is our minimum investment requirements? Also based on projects. For Bronx Arcade, the minimum investment is $50,000, and the new project in Pennsylvania is the $100,000. And is 5% a normal preferred return? Yes, 5% is our normal preferred return. We also had other projects had a higher preferred return, but that was the projects that was early on, like the project we acquired in 2016-17. We don't provide more than 5%, higher than 5% anymore. And the next one is could we explain more about the CPACE? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
CPACE is the one kind of the funding the company, the banks can provide. Like the one we are using is the Greenworks Lending. The reason they provide those funding to us, provide to the owners, because they want to motivate the owners to save the energy and the water. So if I don't know, if your background is also doing the real estate, you want to apply the CPACE project. So you want to make sure you will use the money to, for example, how to make your project have the high efficient lighting, or have the high efficient chiller, spoiler, and or hot water heating systems, or can save the energy and the waters. That can be the one of the requirements the funding is looking for. And usually the funding for this lending, they usually provide not more than $3.5 million. They usually provide 20% to 35% of the property's value. And let me see the next question. Next question is are we seeking further investment in Bronx? Yes, we are still open for Bronx. Currently, we are looking for actual $200,000. And for the percentage, in total of the Bronx investment is about $1.7 million. So will be the 200 divided by the total investment times 80% will be the shares we are offering. And next question is what did we pay for the building? We got this building very undervalued. We paid $1.8 million. And the next one is, thank you for that comment, said the great webinar and any other planned events for future. Yes, our next event is coming Wednesday, April 29th will be the 4 p.m. and we will send out the email and welcome to join. And do Andrew or Cal want to take the next questions?
Yeah, Andrew, you want to go ahead?
Sure.
Yep.
So, Kelvin, where are you going? Sure. So, and just to also add for any other events in the future, in 2 weeks, we'll be sharing another case study on a student housing project in Philadelphia. So if you haven't yet, please either like us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or WeChat, your preferred social media of choice, and we'll get you looped into all of our future events. Our goal is to do this online. Well, now probably forever, given that we have the capability, but also in-person events in the DMV area or the Philadelphia area. And the next question is, during the property rehabilitation process, do you think the area of the building is more important or the utility of the building? So this is a really good question. I think, it depends really on a few factors. One is the the price you're paying for the square footage that you're buying, and the condition of the property. Obviously, if you're going to pay a lot more per square foot for a larger building, then no, it's not as good. Or if the condition of a smaller property is really good, but the condition of a bigger property is really bad, then obviously the condition will affect our decisions to buy. And the last point really is, more space doesn't always mean the potential profit. Location, accessibility, parking, things like that are going to make a specific investment more or less valuable, depending on how big it is or what the condition of the property is.
Yeah, Andrew, I see. I'll take this. There's a question on our projections and whether we anticipate to still be able to hit our target to rent out the residential units. So obviously we're in this current climate of COVID. There's quite a bit of uncertainty surrounding the market on where the schools will close, what's happening in the economy. But I would put it this way. Based on our current existing portfolio, we're almost, I think, close to 90 or almost 95% leased for all our properties. We're still seeing a really healthy leasing rate, right? We have renewed some of our leases. We have gotten and being very, very proactive in engaging potential new tenants. And we use a multiple strategies, right? Some of these are, offering some concessions. Some of them really like the newly renovated buildings. Yes, there's quite a few buildings surrounding us, but if you recall, one of our strategies here is to do some placemaking, meaning, we're kind of, have two really, really great properties on the street, 300 North Charles, and this one's 322. There are synergies between leasing, also in terms of property management, right? So the space that we're going to be finishing in Browns Arcade is going to be really, really unique. In fact, within Baltimore, I don't think you can find any space that has such a nice courtyard. And so the idea there is, kind of delivering on the architect and building side, something unique to our tenants. The other side is our strategy. We're not pricing it at the top of the market. I wouldn't even classify our properties as Class A, although we're going for very close to Class A top quality finishing. So we're not, we're not losing any quality in terms of the finishing, but at the same time, we're offering a really good market rate for the property. Let's see, any other questions?
Yeah, okay. So there's some questions in the chat as well.
Yes.
The question on competitive advantage, did you just take that one, Kelvin?
No, I think if you want, you feel free to elaborate, Andrew.
Sure, yeah. Well, I think you shared a little bit about what our competitive advantage is. So we're focused on a certain type of asset, B class, for lack of a better word, which is not going to be your highest rent rates, but it's also not in the low income or affordable housing range. And in addition to what is a pretty competitive price for the type of units we're offering, we have very hands-on property management. There's not a lot of investors in Baltimore that are also local. A lot of people are buying the property that come from New York, California, Washington, D.C., or even overseas, and they're not able to serve the residents in the same way. And there's a host of property management companies that have really bad, satisfaction ratings online. And so I think we're in a really good position as the property management company, as well as the owners, to really, generate value for investors while our residents are happy and continuing to rent the space. So that's one of our competitive advantages. From an investment standpoint, I think, we have some creative financing structures that we shared earlier. So I think that's another thing. I think we're doing more than our competitors to be able to generate additional grant, additional energy financing returns that are going to allow us to build a product and purchase properties at a competitive price so we can win the deal, but have less costs than what otherwise someone might pay. So slightly better product for the same or less costs. The next question here is, I noticed expected residential revenue in 2020 of 160K.
Yeah,
How
I've answered
sure
that,
are you?
Andrew.
You answered that one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great answer. That's all the questions we have, and we are pretty much right on time. So, I can't say thank you enough to all you guys. It's our first webinar. I think it was a great success because all of you guys were here to join us and ask really thoughtful questions. Please, if you are around next Wednesday, we're going to be talking about specifically the COVID-19 response, and not just in the real estate market, but also in the other investment markets, securities, private equities. And we have 3 really great speakers, in addition to Jade, who will be representing GL Capital, 2 professors from the Carey Business School that work in finance and economics, and another professional working in securities who has a really tremendous record. So it's just been posted in the chat group. You can sign up right now if you want, and we hope to see you out there or online for the next topic. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.